There we go, that's better, that was working. Alrighty, let's move this a little bit further down because that's a little bit out of the way. There we go. The last show of 2018, and it's been one hell of a year so far. I'm really happy with where we've been and where we've gone. We've got lots of things planned in the future, so I'm looking forward to it. We've already got Reese in the chat. Hello, Reese. If you're in the chat, don't forget to give me a quick shout and say hello. And yeah, and as always, I will start the show with a quick shout out to all of my third tier and above patrons, starting with Wayne and Reese, and also Tim as well. Thank you very much. You've been with me for the last 5 months or so, and it's because of you these shows are happening, so thank you very much. Don't forget, if you want to get in on the old Patreon, all the links are in the description below. Hi mate, gaming later, so here I am. Oh, brilliant. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as well. And what are the other things I do? Oh yes, my little pictures away. I haven't updated it recently, but if you've got any pictures to share on any of your social media, don't forget to let me know about it. Stick it on my Facebook page and you'll get put in there as well. We've got lots of conquest models going along, so don't forget to hashtag them BofOPS Live, which is there. And also, if you want to have, if they're conquest models, don't forget to use the BofOPS Conquest. And yeah, we'll get those up on there. And Gabriel Seth, he's looking pretty good. We're going to see if we can get him finished by the end of the show. And if we can, that'll be the next show we do, which will be in a week's time, which will be in the new year, the first live painting of the new year. Hopefully it'll be a new project, so don't forget to get in your suggestions for a project below there. I'm thinking of maybe perhaps, I don't know what character. I know I can get an Eisenhorn figure at reasonably quick short notice, and we have only got a week if I do get this finished, so we've only got a week for me to figure out, and also we've got New Year's in between now and then, so it might be a bit tight to grab something unique. But we'll have a look at that. But don't forget, throw your suggestions in the comments below. And also, I've been having a chat with my Patreons, and I'm going to start a new monthly video where we will do a bit of a monthly Q&A and a bit of a monthly studio update and things that are coming and things that have been and how I feel about things. So yes, you could probably get some questions in for a Q&A. Throw them in any of my social media. Throw them at me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on here, YouTube. Feel free to throw them around, and we'll start we'll compile a list of Q&As. And also, the Patreons will get to have their questions as well, and they'll be at the top of the show, and then I'll get through any others that we can get through. So, questions and answers, feel free to throw some of those out there as well. Other than that, have I remembered everything? Have I remembered all of my announcements? I think I might have done. Although I will say, if I bring up the calendar, if nobody has seen it yet, the next Conquest show, that's my Monday night show, will be on Monday the 7th of January. At the usual time, and the next live game with Chick Paints or Reese in the chat tonight will be on Tuesday the 15th of January. We're taking a 2-week break from the Conquest, and we're taking about a 4-week break from the Kill Team game. So just to let you know that those are the dates. But this Thursday night show should be relatively uninterrupted. So the next Thursday show should be on the 3rd of January if I make sure I've got the models that I need to get done. And also a new video being released every Friday, so hopefully there'll be another painting video for you tomorrow at 6:30, so keep an eye out for that as well. Other than that, I'm in the chat. If you've got any New Year's chat, feel free, throw them down there. If you've got any New Year's resolutions, if you've got anything that you're happy about that you've done this year, if you've got anything you want to get done next year, throw them in the chat. We'll have a chat while I paint Gabriel Seth. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all of my, what I need to say. So we'll get cracking on with the show proper, shall we? So we move down onto the big show. There's the man himself. Look at that. He is coming together really nicely. I would like to see this thing finished by the end of the show. But we will have to see what happens, whether it works. Now, I do feel like I'm missing a few bits and pieces on this screen, but I don't seem to. So we'll get cracking on with this. And like I said, if you got any New Year's chat, if you got anything you want to have a chat about while we're here, feel free, throw them down there. Oh, and a little bit of housekeeping. I have moved my microphone, so if you feel that it's getting distorted, it's now underneath me, under my desk. So I'm not quite sure how the levels are. So feel free if it's getting a bit distorted. Maybe it's coming through a little bit too loud. Feel free to let me know that so I can fine tune it. Ghost Kill is my favourite this year. Now that's the big towel thing, isn't it? Is that the big towel one that you've done reasonably recently? Now the very first thing I'm going to do, unlike last week, I'm not going to do anything with this or the cape just yet. We do have this arm here. Now the first thing I need to do is coat that thing in corn red, so I can get this thing finished, or at least started, because I've got, as always, whenever I do a base coat, I've then got the wash to do. And if I leave that any later than the very first thing of the show, we'll probably end up getting about half an hour wait for the wash to dry. So we'll get the base coat on this done first. In 2019, you want to get your towel painted. That would be nice and quickly, so that they've got some really nice looking towel on the table on our Kill Team games. Hey Reese? It sounds okay. Nah, the one with the grey head. I'll have to have a reminder. I need to remind myself about that one. Is that the one that's on the that's not the one that's on the viewer model reel, is it? It's not the one that you posted on the base of operations page? See, I'm terrible with some of these models. I forget. I see so many models and they've all got all sorts of different names. I tend to forget what's what. So we're just whacking on a nice base coat of corn red onto his arm here. I'm a little bit naughty. I did only prime this earlier on today, realizing how close I was to the end of the model. I thought, well, it might be an idea to get this thing done. So we're just throwing on some colour on here. I might have to bring up a picture on the screen in a minute just to make sure I'm getting colours correct. I'm not quite sure what colours I'm going to use for the weapon just yet. I don't imagine that the handle of his sword is the same colour as the armour of his armour. No, it's not the one. Oh, right, okay, fair enough. I might have to have a look in a minute, see what a Ghost Kill looks like. I see so much of your work coming out, Reese, that I just tend to forget what you have and haven't done, or which one that you've done. By the time you finish one model, you're almost halfway through another one, aren't you? I want to get as much painting done as possible in 2019. I have my painting mojo back thanks to Will. Well, thank you very much, Wayne. I'm glad that I've inspired you to pick up a brush. It's been a pleasure. I did have somebody on my Instagram actually saying that I had inspired them to actually get a colour scheme settled down for their Tyranids. If you haven't already seen the Tyranids on my Instagram, suggest you go have a look at that. The new Kill Team that I've got ready to go, well, almost ready to go. Painted half of them. There will be some videos about him as well. I want to get a video put together about how I do my Tyranid colour scheme. Very Kill Team inspired, with black and orange. I think you'll find if you have a look at the armies that I do, with the exception of things like Death Guard, I might even do a new Space Marine kill team as well. Very black and orange inspired via kill team. All my kill teams will be inspired by the colour palette of kill team. So when I go through, you know, things like the Eldar and all sorts of things like that. Speaking of Eldar, a bit of a Christmas gift that I had this year is the Harlequin Death Jester. So we have a Harlequin kill team to build at some point. We'll have a look at those. And again, that'll probably be a very orange inspired one. I have indeed, mate. I have to paint as much as I can at the moment, as long as I'm not knackered. Well, you know what, you know, enjoy it. Painting should be enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it, you'll tend to find that you want to stop doing it. So I'm just quickly going to bring up a picture of Gabriel Seth up on my desktop here, because I've forgotten what he looks like. Ah, he's got a blue handle, that's fair enough, and then the sword is black, so that's fair. We can get on with that shortly. We do have a little bit of highlighting to do on the iron halo that he's got going on back here. We'll sort that out shortly. The kill team boards in Warhammer World were amazing. You know what? It's one of those things that I can't wait to get my get the new studio built. Now that's something that's probably a little way off as yet, but if you hark back to the video that I did a few months ago about in the back garden, building a new studio, is yeah, once I can get a new studio built back there, kill team boards inspired by you know, like those ones in Warhammer World are definitely going to be something I will do a project on, and it'll probably be a big project that I'll do some videos on. Perhaps not individual how to paint projects, but more like maybe a vlog. In fact, building the studio will probably become a vlog as well. You're enjoying it at the minute, it's just finding the time to do so. Absolutely. There is a big issue with time, isn't there? Now, in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just giving a quick dry brush over the base here. Just trying to add a bit of Dawnstone to the grey. I want to try and get this base done as well. So get this done before I start gluing things back to the model. So we've already done a Mechanica standard grey base coat to this thing when we which is kind of what we did towards the end of the last show, actually, if I remember rightly, just to bring a bit of colour to what we're doing. And so I am just going to grab some grey along here. And if you want to watch some slightly deeper techniques when it comes to dry brushing, you might want to keep an eye on what I'm doing here now. To start with, I'm just giving it a quick dry brush of the Dawnstone, and that just brings up some of the highlights that we have on there. But what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start blending some other colours into this that gives us some nice variation to the rock. And the first thing I'm going to do after this is we'll add a bit of colour to it. So just keep an eye on this. So that will give us some nice highlights from that deep grey. Now what I'm going to do now is, funnily enough, is I'm going to come in with, let me find the colour that I want to bring in, Niblet Green. Now I haven't lost my mind, honest. I get some really nice deep green on here. Well, I say deep green, it's quite a light green actually. Yeah, that's a good question. What's on the desk? What's showing you through into your new year? What is what's going to bring you through from 2018 into 2019? There we go. Right, so we have some green going on there. Lovely. That adds a little bit of a mossy kind of feel to that. All over there. A Vixtrix Honor Guard. Now that's to go with your Calgar, isn't it? Right, now I'm going to come in with a bit of Golfag Brown, just to add a little bit of a kind of a soily kind of colour. Just a bit of dirt to go in on the, and I'm still using the same brush, so all of the colours are starting to mix together on here as well. Adds just a slight green hue to the brown. Nothing over the top. And we're just going to quickly pass that over the grey. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to come back into the greys. So we don't want gold Dawnstone. I'm coming in with some Longbeard grey. I'm still painting Death Guard from Conquest, but my desk has gained a Blight Drone from my collection and a Blight Hauler that are itching for some paint. Excellent. Well, there'll be some more Blight Drone, not Blight Drone, sorry, Blight Hauler videos coming over on the channel over the next few weeks, as well as a new model. I don't think I've actually already released a video for that publicly yet. And I say publicly because the Patreons always get early access to all of my videos. So this is Longbeard grey with Golfag brown and the other Niblet green mixed into it, so it's come out as a very light brown. So I'm still going over this now with that colour, but what I'm going to be doing now is I'll be coming back in. I now need to change the brush because that one's dirty. I actually want to be using Longbeard grey as it is, so I'm going to be putting that down. Basic miniature painting, welcome to the show. And what are you painting? You're painting British infantry from the Zulu War. Oh, lovely. Are they the redcoats? Is that what they are? I've never been a fan of historical gaming. I've never been that much into it, to be honest. But I do love looking at those miniatures. I'll keep tapping the camera, which isn't helpful. So we have some Longbeard, straight up Longbeard grey going on here now. Just grabbing those edges here. So we've got green, we've got brown, we've got greys growing on here, and it all mixes together to give us a really nice kind of blended kind of look. It's a little bit different than just straight up grey rock. Something It's a little bit different. There we are. So I'm quite happy with that. Yep, I'm painting them as Royal Marines, so dark blue. Ah, nice. Roke's Ridge. I don't know what Roke's Ridge is. Always wanted to get into historical wargaming. Yeah, I couldn't get past the historical bit, to be honest with you. I never kind of went all in for it. Okay, now what I'm going to do to bring all of those colours together, I'm now going to come in with some Agrax Earthshade, and we're going to need to leave this to dry, which is why I'm doing it quite so early in the show. So get those greens, those browns and those greys all to come together to form a nice blended look. And then when I paint the base rim nice and black, this should really stand out separately from the black. It should give it a nice border, as it were. So we'll blend those together with the Agrax Earthshade, like so. Right, so we'll leave that to dry. Rorke's Drift is the battle in the film Zulu. It's a true story. Ah, fair enough. Basically, 139 British fought off 4,000 Zulu at Rorke's Drift. Yes, is that the Michael Caine movie, isn't it? Is that the one? Zulus, thousands of them. Yeah, that's the one. I think I've seen that movie once. I think I did see that movie once. And didn't I think the old yeah, 3 ranks, and they lined up, and they all rear rank, fire, advance, rear rank, fire, advance, or something like that. It was a really awesome way that they carried on moving forward, pressing a so-called advantage, I imagine. Right, Emperor's Children. We're going to add some highlights to the purity seals we put on last week. Zulu Dawn. No, I've never seen that one. Once, does it? Oh, again, it's one of those things. I can never get into historical stuff. I can't get into historical. There's something about it that I just can't. I can't settle with. It just bores me. Sorry to say it. To be honest with you, I think it's I like my soldiers to be super soldiers. To be honest, it's kind of the same reason why I don't like when I watch superhero movies. You know, I like my superheroes to have superpowers, and so when I'm watching a show. So, you know, Arrow springs to mind. I'm not a particular fan of Arrow. It's not one of my favourites because, you know, the superheroes don't really have superpowers. Well, to begin with, it wasn't. It's kind of grown on me now that there are some superheroes in there. Seth looks amazing. Thank you very much. He's coming together quite nicely, isn't he? We are getting towards the end game on this guy, so we are going to need a new model soon. I think, like I said, I can get a hold of an Eisenhorn nice and quickly, so we might do Eisenhorn next. But I'm open to suggestions for the next project or the project after that. Feel free to throw in some suggestions. We did have some suggestions from Chilling, what is it, Wargamer Viking last time. Was that Captain for the Crimson Fists? Universal Soldier, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you see, that's what I like my soldiers to be. Super soldiers. I don't like these, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm just not a fan of historical, to be honest. We've got a few bits of highlighting to do that I forgot to do last week, was some shading. I forgot to add a bit of shade to the gun that we have on the back here. It's one of those details actually that probably won't get much more than just maybe a touch of a highlight. It's not something I really want the eye to be drawn to, so we might just add a bit of shading to it and just leave it at that. Pedro Cantor, it wasn't the one that he mentioned. You vote an Imperial Knight. I tell you what, that would be one hell of a project to do on a Thursday night, to be honest with you. Historical battle films for the win. Oh God. Oh, honestly, I can feel the boredom setting in already. Nah, they're good movies. I can't sit and watch through them. Not unless they're majorly fantasized, such as something like 300. I mean, the film itself isn't brilliant, but that's the kind of way that I can watch a historical film, is if it's just really fictionalized, you know. I'm not a true kind of historical kind of follower, you know. I like fiction. I see fiction as it is, and I just enjoy fiction. It's just who I am. Right, let's get that wash on his arm there. We're going to be doing some jumping backwards and forwards while we do this, because, like I said, we're getting to the end game now, so we do need to kind of see if we can get this finished. So I've got to paint in the best order possible. No, don't say that, I'm a historian. Yeah, but you see, history is written by the victors, so, you know, embellish it a little bit. You know, make it more interesting. Okie dokie. Right, so that needs to go on there. Right, so I think how are we doing on the back here? That's pretty good. I think it's time to start thinking about adding the cape back onto his back here. We're good to go on that front, so we're going to throw that back onto there. You'll see this is the bit where it's not going to fit because his shoulder pauldron's in the way. You will be once you complete your degree in history. Well, good luck with that. How long before you finish that then, Wayne? Alright, let's throw the backpack onto there. He's wobbling a bit on his base there. You see that wobble? That's just the pin holding him in place. I hope that holds up. So there we go, that's that on there. Now we do have a chapter symbol to add on there. We've got a gem on there. We've got some highlighting to do on the iron halo itself, which we need to get on with, and we've got a few gems to add on over the whole model. But I am going to paint in I will paint in the chapter symbol on his back. Grab the old Celestra Grey, because I need that white. It's currently black at the moment, so let's grab some Celestra Grey there. And we have got a massive hole to cover up. When I drilled the backpack on show number 2, I believe it was. Righty-ho, so there is some Celestra Grey going on there, so we can get that covered up with white shortly. There we go. Right, let's go get some. Let's get some Stormhost Silver. Oh, this needs some serious mixing. So bear with me a second. Oh, it's all spilling out. Where's that spilling out from? Oh, it's spilling out from the top there. Oh, man. Word of warning, don't use dropper bottles. You know what? There's a big thing about putting your dropper bottles. Putting your paints in dropper bottles. But, I tell you what, look at this mess that makes inside the dropper bottle. It ain't worth it. Look at this. You still get all of this. Look, all of this is building up inside that. It builds up over time. But to be honest, you'll probably, to get decent dropper bottles that you won't get this in, you'll probably be spending about twice as much on paint. You need to buy the paint and then you need to buy a bottle to go with it. It's a big thing about mixing your bottles up, but it's not worth it. Look at that, look at the state of that. Look, all of that is silver, and then the medium's up here. Look at that. Going everywhere. Oh. Right, I tell you what, that's not going to work. Let's see if I can find a Vallejo bottle. That Stormhost Silver is ready for the bin. Let's have a look. What have I got in Vallejo Silver? That'll do. Right, let's mix that one up. Let's have a look. What's this? Reese has posted up her new Magnus Calgar model, so keep an eye out for that on the next show. Hashtag Be of OPS. Right, there we go. Bit of silver going on. Here we go. So even the bottles that are designed for, you know, dropper bottles, you still get a bunch of paint on the inside of that. Look at that. You're still wasting paint. And that's a bottle that comes as a dropper bottle. Don't be fooled by it. Of course you can be if you want. Who am I to tell you how to paint? Right, here we go. So, what we're going to do with this, we're going to add just a very slight highlight onto the gold. And ever so gently add a little bit of silver to the tip of these. Won't really see a lot of it. It's kind of the point. Not really something you're going to notice. Whoops, it's too much. Ever so gently. Just on the tips there. Just to add just a little bit of an artificial shine to the gold. Even though I'm using metallic metals anyway. Ain't no non-metallic metals coming on over here at the minute. Cut the edges of the wings, there we are. And then just on this corner here. And then we need to try and replicate that on the other side. Is it only you that can hear running water like a fish tank? Yeah, I was going to say, I don't... Are you talking about bubbling like a fish tank? Because I can't hear anything like that from my end. Of course, I watch the show again when I'm finished, so I'll see if I can hear anything when I re-watch the show. You've got headphones on and can hear it. I don't know. See, I can't even put headphones in to listen, to be honest, because it's my computer will be making sounds that would then get fed back through the system, and you'll get feedback. I am listening on my phone, but it's so quiet I can't really hear it. It needs to be quiet so that you can't hear it on the microphone. It's not an issue. Well, that's alright, as long as it's not too distracting. It could possibly be that because I've moved the microphone, it's now, like I said, under my desk. It might be picking up a sound that it wouldn't used to have picked up. I am looking into changing the microphone that I use, because I'm not very happy with where this microphone is now. I needed to move it because it was in the way. As Reese regularly comes around to do the live show, she knows where the microphone was last week, and it tended to get in the way when I wanted to get things from behind it. Now Wayne can hear it. What are we talking like a fish tank though? Are we talking like bubbles? Are we talking like machinery, kind of, you know, a pump working, or what are we talking about? Fish tank pump. You know what I think it is? I think my microphone can now hear my computer. I think that might be what it is. You might be able to be picking up the sounds of my my computer fans. This is a real pain in the butt, because it's you know, I finally found a place where the microphone can sit without being in my way, and now you can hear my computer. I do think it's time that I looked into getting a lapel microphone. That might be the best way forward from there, I think. I thought my body would actually be a reasonable insulation against any sounds, because I'm basically hugging the microphone. It's coming up to my chest from underneath the desk. And I thought my body would be enough of an insulation, sound insulation. Any sound that needed to get to the microphone would have to go through my body. And it should dampen anything, but it doesn't seem to be working. But I think maybe a lapel microphone will be just what the doctor ordered. Nice job on the face, well thank you very much. I didn't do any eyes on this one. My hands are too wobbly for eyes. There we are, right, okay, so I think that's what I want to get done on the iron halo there. I think we'll just do a touch of highlighting on the chain. Now all I'm doing on this is basically overbrushing it. I'm just ever so gently passing the brush across where the chain is and just allow the brush just to catch where it wants to catch. Not really highlighting with any kind of definition. There's not really any need to it. And then the next bit we want to highlight will be gold on his pauldrons. Now again, we're just going to come along the bottom here where that ends. Just go just across here and just catch some of these areas, some of these really high areas here. Kind of overbrushed that. Catch some of these higher areas here. You follow a proper GW painting guide for faces? Yeah, it's pretty much the recipe that I used. I didn't necessarily use the same one that you did, but definitely used the Citadel painting app a lot. Right, let's get some white going on this thing, and then we'll get some stuff on the base sorted out as well. Where's me white? There's me white. I think faces, Wayne, is one of those things that you kind of, you either get into it or you just avoid it, to be honest. I mean, faces are not one of those things that are easy by a long shot. And in fact, I'm not particularly happy with any of my faces, to be honest. And I do try and avoid it as much as I can. So, Chris Alexander, welcome to the show. Thank you very much indeed. Reese, your Magnus Calgar is amazing. That is my friend's model he sculpted. Excellent. Alrighty, let's get some work on the base going. And I think when we started this, we were going to say that he was going to have a fantastic river of blood running underneath the model here, which means it's time to crack out the old blood for the blood god. And I love this stuff, thick and glupeous and ugh. So what we want to do is grab an old brush, grab some of this stuff and literally just lay it in there like this. Just lay that stuff in there, under there, absolutely cover the stuff. Get it up the sides, There we go, look at that. Lovely stuff. Man, this is gorgeous. There we go. Get it up on the top there. Fill that gap there. Round the back. Just layer it in. There we go. There we are. There we are, lovely. Right, we'll leave that to dry, that'll be lovely. Righty ho. Am I reading that, Wayne? Right, you know the person who sculpted the new Magnus Calgar? That's a hell of a name drop. Right. Okie dokie, so what do I need to do now? What I need to do is grab some Mephiston Red. And we're going to pop on some red on the blood drops that are around his armour. We'll pick this out here. Go. I get very quiet doing that, having to make sure that I get inside the lines. Can't be a blood drop if it's not the right shape. My hands are shaking like crazy. Yeah, his name's Matt Holland. He was a part-timer in Judo Jiu-Jitsu in the late 1990s when you worked there. Brilliant! He started sculpting with green stuff in the shop. And our boss at the time told him. That's an amazing story. That's fantastic. Told him about a scheme at GW looking for new sculptors. He applied and was successful. Fantastic. You know you'll be inundated with trying to find inside information now, though, Wayne. Everybody who reads that will be like, oh, Wayne knows somebody at GW. Quick, get in on that. He also did our friend Magnus. Wow, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. So now I literally know a guy who knows a guy. It's fantastic. That's brilliant. Alright. Now last week when I did purity seals, I did forget to grab some purity seals on the back of the cape. So we're going to crack on with grabbing the purity seals on the back here. Whoops, I keep smacking that blasted camera. I think I've moved it a bit closer than I would usually do. Righty-ho. He's also done some work on Space Wars. He was the lead on the Speed Freaks project. Brilliant. And a lot of tail stuff. He has a proper page on Facebook showing off his work as a sculptor. Well, I will have to check that out at some point. I think sculpting is a little bit beyond my purview at the minute. Otherwise I would probably have done some work on Mephiston myself. Probably would have created a different model for Mephiston, or at least kit bashed and sculpted something together. Although I'm quite happy with my Wargames exclusive version now. Although what with the new Primaris upgrades, I don't know whether it'll be long before they'll either get Primaris upgraded or whether they'll just get killed off. So there's the touchy subject. If you do check his sculpted page, Will, please let him know you know me. Matt Holden knows him too, as he worked for GW Ipswich at the same time. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I will do. Right. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop in. Oh dear, that's not meant to happen. Always make sure you close your lids, kids, because otherwise this happens. Oh dear. Oh, let's peel that off. Oh, yeah. Let's just put that in there. Put that in the water bucket. How are we doing? Yeah, I think that needs a proper clean out later. I'm not going to do that sort of thing on the show. Let's grab some of this Spirit Stone Red. I love this gem stuff. It makes painting gems so much easier. I know that I said I was going to do some more complicated painting on this model, but I think painting gems for the time being is going to settle for the technical gem paint, I think. Considering we've only got a few of these dotted around the place. Yeah, something like that, that'll do. Alrighty, so the next bit is we're going to come back over here for a minute and we're going to add some highlighting to the armor plates. I'll come in with some Wazdaka red. Now, what colour do I need to do? Do we need to do the rim of his shoulder pads in gold or anything? How are we looking at that? What's this? Oh, it's silver. Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. We can ignore that for the time being then. We'll do that in a bit. Alright, let's move the palette out of the way. That's getting in the way. Righty ho. If I'd have checked that earlier, actually, I wouldn't have needed to have could have painted that before I washed the mono. considering the silver will need washing as well. Let's have a gander here. Bring it back up that. I've not played it for a few years. I'm very well tempted to get back into it. Loving all the new models. Yeah. Some of these new models that are coming out are looking mighty fine. I must say I'm happy I got into the hobby when I did. I know at least 2 people in the chat right now love the old models. But I've never been a fan of the old sculpts. I do feel very privileged to have joined the hobby when I did. On and off since you were 14, now you're 36. To be honest, I joined the hobby at 28 years old. I'd never touched a model before that. GW scopes get better and better as they go along. I have no problem with the old models. No, yeah, I'm not a fan, and I think it's because when I joined the hobby, everything had so much detail to them, and were so dynamic that you know, I appreciate the fact that we have the technology available to create the models that we have now, and I fully understand. You know, why the models were the way they used to be, but I think it's because I don't have any childhood memories of 40k or Games Workshop in general. I just don't have. I think it's because I don't have that connection with you know pre-90s Warhammer, that I don't have any kind of feelings towards the older stuff, and so you know I'm not a fan of them. You know, this Christmas is 30 years in the hobby for you. Well, you've been in it 10 times longer than me then. Not to make you feel old or anything. Righty-ho. Now, come in with what we're looking for now. Kislev flesh. Let's get me super fine detail. Well, put it on my palette first, then get me super fine detail brush. See if we can get some extreme highlights going on here. I am odd, plus your painting level is older than mine. Well, I don't know. 1994, saw a model, the old Terminator with target and thingy on its hand. You see, the thing is, obviously, being British, of course, I knew of Games Workshop before I picked up a model. So I'm not 100% sure when the first time I saw Warhammer stuff. It probably, to be fair, when I think about it, I think the first models I really saw were, old fantasy models. Yeah, that would probably have been the first time I really saw anything. I think the only reason why I say that is that I think I don't have any recollection of anything sci-fi in the old window of Games Workshop. But I do remember I would have seen things like dragons and creatures that I think would have resonated with me at the time. So I imagine my first introduction to Warhammer would have been, the fantasy stuff that I would have seen the first time, way back when. But it wasn't until just under 3 years ago that I picked up my first model and started painting it. Ultramarines all the way until Black Templars came along. Well, actually, I agree with Reese. Blood Angels. I love Blood Angels. That was my first army. But then, having said that, since Kill Team has come out, it's now all of the armies now. I think it's now because with Kill Team, I have the ability to purchase all of the armies. As opposed to having to... I think if I still had to stick with only one army, it would probably still be the Blood Angels for me. Reese, you're very much an Ultras gal, aren't you? Them boys in blue. Let me have a look at the picture of Gabriel Seth again. Oh, that's gold. Really? More gold? Well, we'll get that gold in a minute, but let's get let's get the old Citadel starter brush out. Let's get this painted in black. So I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking, wow, am I going to get this guy done tonight? The last show of the year, I would love to see this guy finished. I'm looking at the time and there's still a bit to do on this guy. There we are, right. What have we got left to do? Let's have a look. Are we happy with the way this guy has turned out on here? I think I am, although I did forget Let's get some of the old silver paint going on here again. And we've got some of this around here. Two words, Spaceballs. So, well, what's your favourite hobby moment this year? Oh, well, this channel, for one, has been a very quite important moment of this year. I think, you know what, honestly, I think the release of Kill Team has possibly been my favourite. Honestly, yeah, I think the release of Kill Team opened up it opened up the possibility for me to enjoy what I do most, which is painting lots of other things. You know, I with the funds that I had available, I had to stick to, you know, the army that I chose, and the Blood Angels were good. I enjoy them. I love the fluff, and the stories that come with them are fantastic. But I did like the idea of painting other things, but unfortunately, you know, the hobby can be expensive, and buying a model just for the sake of painting it was a little bit out of the realms of possibility for me. So I think the release of Kill Team really opened up the hobby for me massively. So I think that's it. And it seems like you love the Space Wolves. Christ, yeah. I hated playing against the Space Wolves when Reese was collecting them. Yeah, and those Wolfen were a nightmare. Right. I got some silver on my palette that's going a bit dry. This shouldn't happen. I think it's time I refresh the wet palette. Let's go bringing in the lead belcher on here. Wait, there's a wolf and dreadnought? Old lead. You see, these are the things, I don't have these memories, you know, lead models. You know, I know people talking about trying to hold a lead Thunderhawk gunship together, which is a massively heavy piece of material. I don't have any of these memories. I've never really had to deal with that. Right. Yeah, I'm struggling to hold this. I think it's time that I actually put this on the model as well. I put that on there. should be able to do all the bits I need to do. I'll tell you what I will do while I'm waiting for the lid belcher to dry on that bit. Let's go get one of my favourite paints that I use. Is the old is some Tamiya paint actually. Tamiya rubber black. I really love the finish on this stuff. It's like an alcohol based acrylic paint, which is a bit of a contradiction in terms. That's why you're glad you discovered pinning. Yeah. Trying to put together those big metal models, I imagine, yeah, pinning was more of a necessity than anything else, wasn't it? Alrighty, so we got some black going in on there. Got some of this old black going in down here. I love this rubber black stuff from Tamiya. It really does. It's in like an ultra matte finish. It's amazing. Don't mention Tamiya products in the GW. Never heard of Tamiya? Well, you've never heard of Tamiya, Wayne. You'll find a range of it up in Hobbycraft in Martlesham. In the back, along with all the model aeroplanes and stuff. Wargamer Viking, welcome to the show. I've been here all show, just sometimes had to mute as I was on the phone and then cook tea. Oh, fair enough. Well, thank you for joining me the whole show then. You don't recommend brushing on too much Tamiya paint, and great for the airbrush though. Yes, it is. The thing is with Tamiya paint is because it's an alcohol based paint, it does dry very, very quickly, so you don't really want to be using it on a brush for too long. I've never run it through my airbrush yet. I tend to use my Tamiya paints as very, very fine detail stuff. But it also it goes on. It looks like it goes on a little thicker than it actually dries. And yeah, there's a certain amount of learning that is required with it. It's not as forgiving as GW paint. However, you do get much nicer finishes with some of them, and you do have other paints that are a bit like GW paints but with different colours, such as I could bring out things like the clear orange, which I haven't tried it too much yet, but I imagine it's either a bit like the spirit stone colours, or it's like a glaze. I haven't quite figured out yet. We bring out some other, there's all sorts of different colours and stuff, and I'm looking forward to trying them all out. But I haven't run them through my airbrush yet. But it is I don't have a mask. I've got some dust masks that I use, but I really, before I run anything like Tamiya paints, or I also have somewhere knocking around is Vallejo's liquid gold stuff, which apparently is superb to run through an airbrush. Unfortunately, it's a resin based paint, or synthetic resin, and yeah, I want a proper aerosol mask to before I even consider running that through my airbrush. At the minute I just use a regular dust mask, so I'm reasonably safe with just a dust mask for regular paints, but yes, something to consider. I will try in the future. Now let's marry the model back together again. He's starting to take shape. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to that, add a little bit of glue to his wrist, and we're going to see if we can't put this thing together how it should be with some sort of reasonable amount of efficiency. Pop that in there. Let's pop his wrist in there. Hold that there for a few seconds. There we go. It's a little bit wonky, but that's fail cast for you. So we're just going to leave that as it is. And we are going to carry on adding some paint to where I couldn't really hold him together properly. Couldn't really hold it with to do this. And I know that mentioning wonky resin usually has a response of using hot water and an air gun and all that sort of thing, or a hairdryer. I did try all that, and it just wasn't playing ball, so we'll just leave it slightly wonky. It's perfectly fine. Well, it's not perfectly fine, but it's good enough. Righty-ho. Just paint in some of this silver details. It's really coming together now. I'm really happy with the way this has gone. He is looking good, isn't he? If I may say so myself. Tidy up some of the black in just a minute. I think I've been a little bit generous with the silver. I really should have refreshed the silver that's on the palette rather than trying to thin it back. So I'm fighting a drying wet palette here, so I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to sit there watching me trying to refresh a wet palette. Only about 5 minutes to do that. Which 5 minutes doesn't sound a lot, but when you're sitting there watching an empty screen, not doing a lot, 5 minutes lasts forever. Right. So there we go, that's that bit. Now we need to add some colour to that sword, which is why it's not looking as good as it can do. Let's move that back into a little bit of a decent shape there. Right, gotta go so I can cook dinner. We'll catch up with the rest later. Alright Wayne, thank you very much. Catch you later. Wasn't a big fan of the resin when it came out for that reason of wonky bits. Also, they were badly cast, holes in things in them. Is it still the same? It's not brilliant. You know, to be honest with you, the resin models, sometimes you can get lucky and you get a really good looking model that's really well put together, but in my opinion, most of the time the resin just doesn't have the same quality as plastic does. You've had shockingly bad fail casts and shockingly good ones too. Yeah, resin is just one of those things. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it absolutely sucks. There's no real formula to it, really. Okie dokie, so I'm going to try something here as well. The handle of his sword is blue, but rather than trying to do something straight out blue, I'm going to try something a little bit, well, I say a little bit fancy, it's more thinking about how I want to do this. I'm going to use some Celestra Grey, which is a little bit on the blue side. It's kind of a cold grey. So we're going to paint that onto the handle of the sword. And we're going to then try and do something funky with it. And for those who are interested, I just had a notification from Wargamer Viking. He's just uploaded a new video. Is that voice strings I saw there popping up on my phone there? I did see a bit of chatter on the interwebs of the way that they've priced them. I'll check that out when I'm done here. You'll be surprised at what sort of freebie shout outs you get on this channel whenever something pops up. Stupid prices too. 30 quid for a Commander Farsight with set war gear. Same price for a normal Commander with 2 sprues of options. I'll have a look at that. I'll see what happens. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do though. This is starting to look a little bit out of whack when I'm painting. Is that in focus when I paint there? I don't think it is, so let me just try and refocus this a bit. I hadn't noticed it was a bit out of focus. Let's have a gander here. Where do we want that? There we go. Put that there we are. Ah, that's much better. It's a big money maker. I do believe they're out of print though, aren't they? Aren't they limited run and they're out of print? So, I mean, supply and demand and all that. Righty-ho. Okie dokie, so I am going to then wash the silver that I've just done, and that'll probably go over all the black as well, just to be on the safe side. How are we time wise? 5 to 8. Ah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's have a gander, shall we? Can we get this done? It's more of a case of what happens, you know, how long before my missus tells me to get off? I want to come into the room. One of the good things about wanting to build the studio, won't have anybody coming in then. So jump on the Patreon if you want to as well. If you want to help support the channel, don't forget the Patreon link is below. Join from as little as $1. And if anybody's interested, I haven't mentioned it yet. I've mentioned it at the top of the show, but I'll mention it again. I do have a Q&A starting, Q&A show starting at the end of January. It'll be the last Friday of every month. There'll be a Q&A. So get your questions in now and pop them on any of my social media via Messenger. I wouldn't necessarily put it in the chat because the chat will probably disappear and I'll forget about it. But send me a message on any of my social media. Get your questions in now, and if you're a Patreon with a question, that will get answered at the top of the show, and then we'll work our way down from there. Right, now that Celestial Grey should have dried by now. It's only been on there a couple of minutes, but there's not much of it. So here we go. Now I'm going to try and do something a little bit fancy, and instead of shading that, I am now going to glaze it. And I'm hoping that that slightly cold grey of the Celestial Grey, added with this nice blue glaze, will hopefully give us a nice looking blue handle. Look at that, there we go, look at that. That's what we're looking for. Something a little bit fancy. There we go. Always like using glazes to alter the tones of colours that we've got going on. Looks a bit glossy at the minute, but that'll dry nice and matte. There we go, look at that. Whoa, that's beautiful. There we go. How much is the next tier from $20? The next tier up from $20 is $50, and essentially the extra $30 is going into an hour, with me privately on whatever whatever platform is necessary. You get an hour where we just sit, chat, either video or whatever. But I set an hour aside afterwards so that we can chat about hobby stuff. If you need help with anything in particular, if you need to get anything done. But the lowest tier, of course, as with most Patreons, is $1, where you get access to vote on the next project that we do on a Thursday, if we have one. What if you did that though? What, go to $20? Go to $50, sorry. That's well, you get an hour while you're at $50 a month. It's not really designed as a monthly thing, but if you want to, you get an hour. You get an hour every month where we'd sit and chat about, privately about, some sort of model stuff, whether you wanted basing or painting, chat, and you just get to chat with me for an hour. Not necessarily designed as a monthly thing. It's more like, $20 is usually the top end of the monthly thing. But you could do if you wanted to. You do that anyway, yeah. Well, you're in a very a very specific place where you get to come around and actually have a game anyway, so that's fine. You're in a very unique position there, Race. Righty-ho. So we got to a point where we're just waiting for a bit of wash to dry. I think we're just waiting on the sword to do. I think the sword and this shoulder pauldron is pretty much the last bit of painting left to do on this model. So can we get this done by the end of the show? Here's the thing. Let me just have a quick look at the handle of his sword. Oh, he's got a skull on the end, which needs to be a bit of a bone colour. And then the sword itself is, oh, that's silver as well. So I might do a bit of gold on there though, because there's a lot of silver already going on. So we'll see about that. Yeah, I think that'll be gold. That'll be better in gold. So here we go. Get the old Retributor armor out. I'll just smack the camera while I'm at it. Righty-ho. You do like you see behind the scenes. Yeah, I get people asking me to do that actually. Gonna have to see if I can figure a way of getting that done as well. Do I want to do that skull in bone? I think it would be nice to get that. Be nice to add a bit more colour. Alright. There we go. It's coming on once we get that banner done on that sword as well. We'll end up doing a bit that Reese, I know Reese doesn't like. We'll get some blood splatter going on this guy as well in a minute. Or in a bit. But for now, let's get some Xandri dust on the bone. Think you're going down to your local GW tomorrow? Please tell me it's to go buy yourself a Gabriel Seth. That would be a hell of an ego rub, that would be. You watch this show and you go, oh, I think I need to go and buy that model now. Hey, it's wonky. You can see it from that angle. Look how wonky that sword is. Look at that. It's like an S shape. If I need a model, I can have a look through my models, any specific game system. You know what, actually, I think the next model I'm going to do on here is going to be Eisenhorn. I think I can grab myself one of those fairly quickly at my local friendly gaming store, so I'll probably go and grab one of those at some time during the week. But thank you very much for offering. Gonna see what's new. Making the decision to start painting again. Thanks, dude. Well, thank you very much for being inspired. It's a pleasure to when I hear people say that, you know, I've inspired them to get painting. I love painting. It's fantastic. It's almost therapeutic, and I'm glad that what I do here inspires people to paint. Let's get rid of some of this wash on here. Bit too much of it. There we go. Right. Get some more of that Celestra grey going onto here. I keep smacking that web camera today. One of these days I'll remember it's there. Gregor. Is that his name? Eisenhorn's name? Is that his name? I've nearly finished Khan now too. Oh, brilliant. I'd love to see that. And I'll bring that up as well. Don't forget, if you want to post any of your pictures onto the Basis of Operations Facebook page, feel free to do so. Let me know what your Instagram handle is if you've got one and all that, and you'll get to see your models on the opening scene of the show. Gregor Eisenhorn, that's a lovely name. I'd add some black to the blood so it looks more like congealed on the floor. Maybe, yeah. I mean, and in what I could do actually is, what would be better, I think, would be a little bit of Rhinox hide. As blood dries, it turns a bit brown rather than black. But it's also very fresh blood. I like to think that this model is creating the river of blood himself. So just a little touch of Rhinox hide in there. We'll add a little bit of that to there, like that. Thank you very much for that tip. There we go. There we go, look at that. Bit of Rhinox hide in there. What's my Instagram? My Instagram is, in fact, actually, you'll just have to bear with me as a bunch of links come up on the page. What a great show tonight. You've come so far in the past few weeks. Thank you very much, Reese. But don't forget, if you want your pictures posted onto the opening credits of this, or the opening scene of this show, you do need to post your pictures onto the Facebook page, because I'm not able to save your image from Instagram. There's like a security thing to protect your images. So you need to do it on somewhere like Facebook, where I can use my computer to save your image. Have I used pigments? I haven't yet. I've not got around to doing anything like that. The closest thing I've ever used to pigments is this from Life Color. Not necessarily this color, but these are ridiculously thin, kind of like a wash, but they're very high in pigment. I never used pigments just yet. It's not something I've gotten around to using just yet. You follow Chick Painters where you found that link. Well, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you to Reese for sharing the my link, and yeah, thank you very much for coming over. And Wargamer Viking just sent me a message. Thank you very much. He sent me a picture. I imagine it's a picture of Khan. I'll tell you what we'll do. I've got a bit more wash to wait to dry, so we'll have a look at that in just a minute. Now, what colour am I going to do this scroll work on his sword? Why don't I throw it to the comments? We could do it in a proper parchment colour, or we'll put it as a gold. Let me think. Let me throw that down into the comments section. You guys can choose. Right, while we wait for that to dry, where did I put my tablet? Just wait for that to load up. So what do we think, chat? Should we do a parchment colour along here, or should we do it in gold inlay? What do you think? Oh, we got lots of pictures from Wargamer Viking. Here we go. What have we got going on here? Let's have a gander here, shall we? While we're waiting for that to dry. Here we go. Let's have a look. Can we get a decent picture of this? Here we go. Look at that. That Khan in old. Is it World Eater colours? Pre heresy, I'm guessing. Oh, it'll be covered in blood afterwards. Don't you worry about that. Let's have a look here. What have we got there? Ah, oh, there we go. Look at that. That's fantastic. Now, is this the character that you mentioned that you would like to see me do on here, Viking? Is that the captain that you mentioned? I've forgotten his name. But that looking brilliant. And then, oh, that's got to be Angron, surely. That's got to be Angron. That's fantastic. Wow, that's brilliant. So we got one vote for parchment, one vote for gold, and one vote for covering it in blood. That's not helpful. Captain Cortez. Right. Didn't you mention you wanted me to do that guy? Khan's 30k and convert the helmet. Yes, I do. Yeah, because you mentioned that in your was it one of your Space Marine Sunday videos that you showed that one off? Is that last Sunday you showed that one? I will be covering it in blood when he's finished, yeah. Just tidy up some of this black. Yes, was in Space Marine Sunday. The original model is only available for Cortez on eBay. Yeah, I saw that. It's a bit expensive. It could be one of the videos that I'll do in the future. Actually, I might start picking out, because obviously, yeah, these videos are all about characters. Especially when I start doing characters that I've got no interest in keeping, I'm going to be just giving them away. Possibly to my Patreons, but however I give them away, I wanted them to be, you know, easily given away, and I don't think just picking random models are going to help. So I might do some conversions of specific characters as well in the future. Have you used UHU glue for blood? Not yet. Again, it's one of those things I want to start having a look at. I might do myself some big models in the future and start practicing messing around with some of that stuff. Especially when it comes to, you know, I'm doing a Tyranid kill team at the minute, so it could be some places for me to experiment with some of that sort of stuff. Alrighty then, I just realised that there's a purity seal back here, and there's also some more parchment work on the back there. So I think what I'm going to do in terms of the sword, I think because I've already got parchment on the sword, I am going to do the parchment inlay, the picture of parchment in gold. I think would be a good idea. So whoever voted gold, I'm doing that. And being very, very careful and very, very quiet doing it. There we go, I think that stands out quite nicely on there. And I'll get some more underneath here as well. other side as well. There we go. And then come back over the top one, just to make sure we got a reasonable coverage on there. Lovely. Come in with the fine brush as well, with some black, just tidy up one of those very small mistakes that I made. There we go. Alright, now we need to highlight some of this. What I want to do is, I've tried very hard to avoid dry brushing on this model. Done much of the highlighting, I would say properly, but more to do with, I've tried much of the highlighting has been edge highlighting. However, highlighting the silver on the sword, I think would be much better done with a dry brushing technique, due to it being metal. It would be nice to get it as a dry, more like a brushed steel kind of look, which the dry brushing can give us. So we'll do that along the teeth there. That's why I always keep saying as well, is that, you know, painting techniques are not, there's no such thing as a cheating technique or anything like that. It's always a case of, you know, using the right technique for the right situation. So using a dry brushing to highlight that metal, rather than using an edge highlight, using a dry brush technique, gives us a nice little different texture, as opposed to the iron halo that I edge highlighted as opposed to dry brushing. Gives us a nice little texture difference between the two. And then when I come in with the silver to highlight the shoulder pad, we go back to edge highlighting. Like so. Alright. Coming in with a bit of right and flesh shade now to highlight the, sorry, to shade the hilt. We are definitely getting towards the end of this model now. More like tiny little bits and pieces that we need to just pick up and finish off now. A few highlights, a few shades, just a few, whoops, smacking the brush, smacking the cam again. I think really we're just racing against time. It depends on my kids messing around. Gotta go. Thanks for the stream. It's been brilliant. Well, thank you very much for being here, Wargamer. Thank you very much for joining me. Keep an eye on the Instagram. You should see a finished model by the end of the day. Okay, so we need to wash the parchment that we've got on here. couple of bits and pieces just dotted around. I really think I'm racing against the kids misbehaving now, before my missus decides she's had enough running up and downstairs forward with them. Righty-ho. What do we have left to do? We need to highlight some of the... We need to highlight the gold on the pauldron. I always find that this Liberator Gold is so thin, you could pretty much use it. You can use it direct from the pot. Such a thin colour. There we go. All right. And now we have some, what do we need to do now? Well, I think we should be able to pick out with some Ushabti bone. No, Xandra dust first, I think. We'll be able to come back in with the skull on his helmet. Whoops, didn't mean to go over his eye socket. Should be able to put some highlighting back into there. There we go. We'll be able to re-highlight that shouldn't be a problem. And we also need to highlight the grey, that with the black, and for that I'm going to want, what am I going to want with that? I am going to want with some Dark Reaper, I think. If I can get any of that out of the pot. There we go. Lovely. Doesn't really show up on cam very well, but that's fine because we'll come in with some Eshing Grey. And that's if that will come out of the pot. Don't use dropper bottles. There's no point. More of a headache than they've ever been able to solve. Righty-ho. Here we go. Right. And again, picking up there. And we're just going to come along here just a bit. And underneath just a touch. There we are. Lovely. Where is my liberated gold? Just a touch. Here we go. There we are. A little bit along the side there. Like that. And get down into that one there. There. There we go. Ah, stop hitting the webcam. There we go. Heading into the last few bits and pieces. I do need to make sure I get the purity seal done. So let's get that in there. Purity seal. That's all that's needed for that, I think. Oh, actually, I think there's one on here as well, isn't there? Yeah, up in the shoulder pad here. And in there. Be very careful with this one. There we are. They're not really seeable, so it's not too much of a problem with that one. Gives me a sharpty bone. I did get out earlier. It needs to highlight the skull here. and we are almost done. Pearly rich flesh. There we go. Back to white scar to do this guy bit here. Alrighty. A little bit of silver on there. A little bit of silver on there. Emperor's Children will finish off this. Just a highlight of white scar along here. And then I wanted to add touch of that there to finish off the gem on his sword, and I think that finishes off the base model. There we go. Oh wow, that's fantastic. Now we could leave that there. I think that is fantastic there. That is Gabriel Seth finished, as we could leave him, but I think what we'll do is ever so gently we are going to add just a touch of character to him. And to start that off, I am going to use a little bit of Skaven Light Tinge, and I'm going to get a dry brush and wipe most of it off, and very carefully we're going to add a little bit of dust and dirt to the base of this, and then go up a little bit, and we're going to do the same along here. Just to dirty up the base of his cloak here. are. A little bit, just a touch more, just to add here. Add a little bit around his feet, just to dirty up them lovely clean boots of his, just to blend him into his surroundings. Not forgetting to make sure that we add a little bit of Skaven Blight Dinge onto his surroundings, so it blends in nicely, like so. And then just give him a quick brush just over. It doesn't really add a lot of paint to the model, but it does just ever so gently filter out. If you just add just a touch of dust all over, filters out a little bit of the contrast like that. And then let's grab a rubbishy old brush that I've lost most of the bristles to. In fact, I haven't lost them, I cut them off. Get some more blood for the blood god. Here we go. And dip that in there. Just get some of that off. Whoops. Let's rub a little bit more off than that. And then just run it along these teeth edge. Flick it a bit in the way that he would be using it. And along this side as well. Some people like this, some people don't. I'm not adding a little bit of it. Like so. And then what I like to do as well, grab a bit of backing paper, because you're going to need it. Here we go. Terrible shot, I'm afraid, but I need to protect some of the work surface. Here we go. Just catch that up there. I'm going to wiggle on the camera. There we go. Grab some of this onto there. Can I find a bit of scrap card? Where's me flicky? Ah, there it is. There's me flicky stick. And just there we go. Let's move that out of the way. And there we go. So it's bloody hell, yeah. Some people like the effect, some people don't. I kind of like the over the top. Absolutely covered him. Now, of course, the picture on the webcam does not look as absolutely fantastic as it would do. Keep your eyes out on the Instagram for a proper picture. But there we go. I think Gabriel Seth, absolutely covered in blood, is exactly what we needed there to round off the new year. There we go. Alrighty then. What do we think of that? I hope you enjoyed that. That's lovely. I like that. That's brilliant. And I'm glad we finished it. We finished it. I tell you what we can do though, just ever so quickly. Now normally I would do this. I would do this off camera just to tidy it up a bit. But while we're here, let me just grab my brush. Stick on a little bit of my mat, my rubber mat from Tamiya, and just quickly run around the edge of the base here. Just to finish off, tidy this up around the base here, like this. I didn't think about changing the camera angle to do this. It's kind of an afterthought, just as I decided that I was going to finish the show. There we are, just like that. There we are, that'll do. And that will then tidy up as a matte. That'll be a matte finish, and then we'll get some nice pictures of that when he's all nice and dry, when that blood from the blood clot is dried. But there we go. I think that's worked out really nicely. I quite like that guy. He's come out quite nicely. So we'll get some nice pictures of that over on the Instagram page. Don't forget, the link's in the description below to find me on Instagram as well. Don't forget, all of my other links are in the description below as well. Wow, that's brilliant. I love that. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It's been a pleasure. And I've had lots of you in here so far. You've had who have we had in here tonight? We've had Reese, we've had Chris there, we've had Wargamer Viking, we've had Basic Miniature Painting popped up a little bit, and Chris as well. So thank you very much for all of that. Don't forget, like I said, the next show will actually be a Thursday show. We haven't got my Monday night show. We haven't got my the next Tuesday night show is not until for a couple of weeks. So just bear that in mind. So the next show will be next week on Thursday, where, by the looks of it, we're going to be starting a new project. Don't forget to join Patreon. From $1 a month, you can help vote on what the next project's going to be. There are other rewards, of course. You see some names going across the screen. You had me give a shout out at the beginning of the show. There are various other rewards as well for joining Patreon, so please check that out if you want to. We'd love to see 2019 be a massive growth for the channel. But other than that, it's been a fantastic year so far, and I'm so happy that all of you have been along for the ride, and I look forward to seeing what next year's going to bring. Other than that, I think that's pretty much the end of the show. It's been a bit of a late one. We've run over by almost an hour tonight. So I thank you all for hanging in there, and for those of you who watch later on, thank you very much for coming back. Don't forget to drop in your pictures onto my Facebook page, and you might be able to see them pop up on the show next time round. But other than that, I'll say thank you all for watching this one, alright, and I'll catch you in the next one, alright? Ta-ra.